I'm Krishna Amin-Patel, and I'm a textile and apparel designer. I am one of the first graduates of the National Institute of Design from the 5.5-year school leavers professional education program. It started in 1970. After graduating from there, I went and did a lot of work outside with architects, with mills, trying to do prints. I even started my own studio. But then I had an opportunity to, from NID, to do research, which is what I realized I was interested in also. So I took up that project as a freelancer, and that kind of changed my life because after that I started working on field work and doing research in that area of woven textiles under the guidance of Dr. Lotika Varadarajan and Helena Perenthupa, who was actually heading the research department at that particular time. And I was offered a position at the institute after an interview I had with them at the National Institute of Design, and I took up the job there in 1980 as a full-time faculty. But before that, in 1975 to 76, I also had a fellowship from the National Institute of Design, wherein Helena was training me how to teach and to do research as well, which I forgot to tell you about in the beginning. Once I joined NID, then one develops slowly as a designer, and I was also sent to the Nottingham University for training from NID in the year 1990 in the area of fashion, apparel, and knitting and knitwear design. And after coming back, I set up the knitwear department as a part of the textile department in NID, but I also integrated it with the apparel design program as well. And so I was at NID till the year I resigned from NID as a full-time faculty in 1998. I was there full-time faculty till then, teaching both in apparel design as well as in textile design. Had to move away due to family reasons to the United States, which is where I was also teaching at the Rhode Island School of Design, also as a visiting faculty, but also sometimes as a replacement to faculty there. And Penland School of Crafts I used to teach as well. But apart from that, I also studied at the Arizona State University in the Fiber Arts department, and my master's there again, which was a 3 years program, and that was very enlightening, and it taught me a lot of different ways of looking at textiles other than just the very mechanically made textiles, and that was exciting. I left NID as Dean of Gandhinagar campus in end of March, and I joined Nirma University in September mid, and I'm here as a ad hoc professor with the Department of Design and working with Sangeeta and other faculty, trying to set up their workshops, trying to set up newer programs, possibly in the area of master's programs in design. Yeah, so that is what I'm doing right now. It was because of Dashrath I joined NID. I think you know the story, so you should say it for me then. Dashrath happened to be a relative of mine and a great friend of my father. And they were both artists. They studied in CNN. My father also loved art, and Dashrath also loved art, but Dashrath practiced art, and my father practiced art for a brief period. But he also did some other thing, I don't know, engineering or something. Anyway, So when the NID program was announced, Dashrath Bhai came to our house because he had watched me grow and he knew through the conversations my father and he might have even seen some of my drawings or Rangoli, if you may. My Rangolis were never with those grids and all. I used to do free hand drawing of a deer or something, you know. So he came home and told my father that you must send Krishna to NID to study since she's finished her SSC, and somehow I had kept track of it. So my father said, oh, good idea, what is this NID? And he told him about it. But I was very scared of my father, to be very frank with you. I don't know about what. I still can't figure out why I was scared of him. But so anyway, so I said, okay, Dad, fine. And then he's saying, okay, let's go get the form. So he took me on his Royal Enfield. We went to Paldi, you know, downstairs. There was Mr. Nambiar there, I remember, Mary. And I was like, oh my God, look at this place. It's spotless clean and everything is shining and everything is, the plants and trees were shining and everything was in order. And it was like a fairyland for me, or too perfect for me, you know, a place. And I thought it was really, it gave me an impression that I don't think I can fit into this. I thought, you know, this is too rigid or too restricted or something like that must have come to my mind at that particular point. I can't deal with it. Anyway, so I took the form and I kept it. And then I told my mother, I didn't talk to my father. I told my mother, Mom, I can't do this. I can't go to that place. I can't. You've seen that place? It's too fancy for me. I can't study there. She said, no, your father thinks you should do it, and Dashrath Bhai thinks you should do it, you should do it. I said, okay. But study in St. Xavier's, mujhe wahan padhna hai. So, and I went on and on many days till I finally extracted, you know, an yes from her, and she gave me the fees money. And I went and I got my admissions in Xavier's. This form, okay. Last date of the form, Dashrath Bhai calls. Form bhar diya, ho gaya, de diya, kya hua? So Dad will say, Krishna, what have you done? I said, no, I haven't filled it. Okay, come here right now and fill it up. Filled it up, okay, in front of him. Sit on my motorbike, let's go give it. So I have to go give it. Okay. What are you laughing? The next I know, see how much I hesitated. Okay. The next I know, the interview call has come. Okay. So I go. And there is, who's there? Ishu Patel. And there is Subrata Bhomik, who I didn't know was Subrata Bhomik at that time. And all of that. Subrata was the one who actually, I did a very bad test, you know, and I knew it, I had done it. He saw me, so he said, ye nahi chalega, usne phaad ke phek diya. Then he later told me it was actually Ishu Patel who had told him, कि नहीं नहीं उसको insist करो कि अच्छा करेगी काम. She looks like she can do it. I've seen, you know, I know she can do it. तो फिर से करवाया वो टेस्ट मेरे से. And I said, I don't want to do it third time, so better do it properly, you know. So then there was one more chance where we had to tell them which area you wanted to work in, specialize in. And I said I wanted to do garments at that time. They said, but we don't have garments. So I said, well, then we have only textiles. So I said, but textiles is the base of garments anyway, so I guess that will be important for me to learn, you know, that.
That was the interview.
I was done. Right. Subrata was not in the interview, he was in a test. And Ishu Patel was in a test. And there was, I remember Kumar Bhai was there in my interview. I don't remember who else was there. And then there was, I think, either Ishu or one more person in the interview. I Was it Dashrath Bhai? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know who else was there. And yeah, so then I didn't go to NID. I went to St. Xavier's for a month. I missed a month of classes at NID. And then came Dashrath Patel again to my house and said to my father, "Is Krishna okay? You know, what happened to her?" I said, "Why? What do you mean?" "She's fine. She's going to college every day." I said, "No, she got admission and she's not coming to NID. You know that." He said, "No, I don't know that." So then, you know how embarrassing it is to talk to your dad and your mother, and everybody gets angry and me crying and everything. So the next time I had to go to NID from the next day and then show him what I was doing also every day.
That's how I remember why.
That's because
by Dashrath's push.
I told you I got in because of him. That he insisted, you know, कि इसको तो मिल गया admission क्यों नहीं आ रही है, you know. So that, and but Dashrath wouldn't leave it there. No, he would come and check with me also. Class માં શું થાય છે, શું કરે છે દીકરા, you know, like that. He taught us ceramic, and then he was quite a perfectionist. Dashrath Bhai, you know, બેન ના ચાલે, you have to do it like this, એકદમ 1 millimeter સીધું હોવું જોઈએ. Then he had asked us to hollow out a cube once, and my one wall broke. Thoda sa. So I said, you know, if the wall breaks, I'm not going to make a whole cube and again hollow it out and this and that and the other. Yeah. And then the submission was there the next day. So what I did is to make a shape out of it, you know, which sort of went with the whole scheme of things that had to be done. So I was very surprised. I got a very good feedback the next day, and everybody was like, "Oh no, but we were supposed to do this and she's doing this." And I said, "I don't know." But he said, "This happened by accident and look what she's able to do, you know, with it. Yes, she should learn to do that also, but this is, creativity happens like this also." So that was a good way of learning as well, I think. Then what else about Dashrath Bhai? Dashrath Bhai तो आते रहते थे बहुत सारा मेरे घर भी, after I was teaching and all. He used to live very close to my house from in Ambawadi. So he just come and chat in the morning for breakfast or something like that. It's nice.
And because
we were 28 students, 30 but 2 dropped out, and then we were 28, and some say 26 remaining, 28 remaining. I frankly have forgotten. A lot of us have also passed away. You know, like Chirag Shodhan was my very dear colleague and friend. He passed away very early. And there was Hemant Bakshi, who was from my batch also, who passed away. Then there are some I don't know where they are. Ellen Figuera, I don't know where he is. He used to be in Goa. Errol, of course, is my batch and he's there. Then there's Leena Bhatt, who was from textiles also. I meet her once in a while. She lives in the United States. Pushpa Chawda, who was a photographer, also a very dear friend of mine, lives in the United States. So I know them, and I somehow am sometimes in touch with them, but not all the time. Hemant Bakshi, then Vani, Prakash Vani, all these people were my batchmates.
So, first batch of NID, some of them who are in India right now, and we can document them and talk to them. Can you suggest a few names to us?
There is, Errol is there, of course, you know him quite well. Then you have Prakash Vani. Then you have Hemant Bakshi. Yeah. So, who else is there? Yeah, so those are there. ये 3 हमारे बैच के हैं. Ellen Figuera, I told you. Yeah. He is in Goa somewhere, or I don't know. Leena Bhatt is in America. Pushpa Chawda, who did photography, is in America. Then Rajrani Chib, I think, is in Delhi. She is in Delhi. She is a textile. She was my batchmate. Then there were two other girls in my class. I can't remember. I can see their faces, but right now I can't remember their names because we've just not been in touch. Rajrani, we were all very close. There's one, Deepa Bhatt. She is living in London somewhere. She did graphic design. Mukesh Patel is in America, as you know, and he's my batchmate as well. Then there is Chandra Razdan, who's my batchmate and my classmate in textile. She lives in Delhi with her husband, who's also my classmate. Devashish Bhattacharya is her husband. And there's Dipankar Bhattacharya, who dropped out, as far as I know. Yogi, you know, Yogi Pangal, he was my batchmate also. Dhan Karkaria was my batchmate. And who else? अभी इतने तो याद है मेरे को बस. So in 1970 we had a long foundation, and so during that time we also saw a lot of foreign faculty coming in and going, and of course I remember Charles and Ray Eames very much because we were always invited to meet them. But there were also Indian artisans and Indian artists, dancers, musicians who came and performed, and those also left a mark on us. I think the house was kept in order in a sense, or the visionaries, actually, one should say that's a better way of putting it, the visionaries that were there. Early visionaries, which are Gira Bhai and Gautam Sarabhai and Tarshad Bhai and Kumar Bhai. They were all very, very excited about the new, fresh, and young students coming up. And I remember that each and every faculty who was there was trained to teach us. So we had like 3 or 4 teachers teaching us about color, 3 or 4 teachers teaching us about form, and of course design process. Mr. Vyas taught us very diligently and in a very sort of made you think, sort of in a very different way. But it was, a lot of it was hands-on. And what it did to you is to also make you very sensitive to not just design, but what is around you, your life, and the life which is of the country, or the people of the country, people of the world, our earth, all of it, so it made you think about everything, not just about design. So this is something that I felt was embedded in me through the way we were trained at NID. Nelly Setna, for example, is a textile designer who had come to review my work when I was graduating. K.G. Subramaniam had come to review my work when I was graduating. And I remember K.G. Subramaniam asking me, "You have done this with the artisans in Kutch, but tell me, what do the artisans get in return from this?" And I was very, very surprised at this question, because at that time in NID, to be very frank with you, we were not taught costing. Okay, so there was this little prompting from, or rather strong prompting from Mr. Subramaniam And that made you think that, it is important for you to understand that the artisan's life can be improved in a certain way through design. And that was the aim of my whole diploma project. But to be frank with you, I had not taken a lot of little things into consideration in the costing at that particular time, which made me rethink and work it out, basically, So there was a lot of open dialogue between teachers, there was open dialogue between students. The restrictions were there, but we honored them, and they were not just there for the heck of it, they were there for our own well-being and our own safety, for that matter. But we respected those, and for example, if we had books in the library which you would borrow, and then there were occasions when people would tear those pages. I mean, who tore them? We didn't know. But there were all these issues which happened, and then you realize that this is not just, institute is not about only you, it is about everybody who is going to study here, and even the people who've helped build it, which is the country in a sense. So, and then working with Dashrath Bhai, working with Ranjan, working with Aditi, who taught us also briefly, Gitto also, and then worked with them as a student as well as a faculty, together as colleagues, And I felt that a lot I had learned was also from Helena, who was constantly sort of questioning what I was doing. She's the one who pushed me to write the book. She's the one who pushed me, yes, you can, you should do this, I know you can do it. So the opportunities that came to me, I started believing in them only after I got this kind of encouragement from my own teachers and my own colleagues. And it made me believe that I can do something which I had never thought I would. So that is how the book was published, It took many years of research, but it got published eventually. Helena gave us a test. You want to join textile design, you have to do this test. I said, okay, test. So we had to do a test, we had to draw this and that, and what would you have, imagine this, and would you be able to do it, kind of thing, and we had to do it. And then we also had to weave, in that test. And so I was weaving, and then all these advanced entry level students at that time, or I think they were called advanced entry, that is Gitto and Aditi and Paresh Chatterjee and all of those faculty come student were also there, Paresh Chatterjee kept coming and looking at me. But you are opening more than weaving. What are you doing? Why? You have to finish this piece by evening. It has to be 6 inches. And I was weaving and I was unweaving and I was weaving and I was unweaving. I wasn't cutting or anything. And that kind of intrigued a lot to the... and Helena said, I've never seen anybody use purple and brown before. That's unique. That's a very unique, where did you learn this? I said, no, I like this combination, so I've used it. So that kind of thing happened, and then there were a lot of challenges from Helena, like, you can't weave a circle with interlocking. And I said, challenge, but I can, if I try. I said, yes, you may, but it won't be a full circle. It will have a lot of angles in it. And I said, no, I'm going to try and do it. So I did. And of course there were angles in it, and so what, So the point is that you have a dialogue, you challenge yourself, you challenge, basically you challenge yourself to learn. And then after a point you just realize you just had to do what you had to do without being told anything, or without any kind of, action, reaction or feedback from your teacher either. And so it kind of kept rolling after that. And you only go to them when you feel like in doubt, you want to clarify something or the other. Yeah, so that's the thing. And one thing I remember about Geeraben quite distinctly is she would come with the hands at the back and walk along slowly in her white kurta and white shalwar and sneak in on us and say, "What are you weaving? Let me see what you're weaving." And "Oh yes, and you must go and see this textile in," and have a conversation with her. "You must go to the Calico Museum and study these." And she used to really encourage us to go and sit and draw there and study the textiles. And we were very fortunate enough that the museum was right across the river of the Sabarmati river at that time in Paldi, and we had access to it quite frequently. We just had to take permission and go, and that was that. Kumar, always kept his distance with students, but I was quite intrigued by the way of his teaching as a thought which came to me when I was teaching later in life, not as a student, but I had a great deal of respect for him because he was very proper and he was like this gentleman who constantly sort of, Sahib, you knew he was your professor, so the others were not behaving like him. That much we knew as was the difference. And Kumar, I remember teaching us design process, and when the exercise, eventually I remember what we had to achieve at the end. I don't remember the whole process now. We had to achieve one product which would cause pain to you, and the other product which would be really comfortable for you. So with the same idea, how do you do that? And that was really challenging. I think that was what I did. One of the things that I worked on was interesting. And so you had to work hands-on with different materials, make it yourself. Sounds were becoming important, listen to the sounds, see the texture, look at the finishing. Hari Kaka would teach us how to make sure that, things were sanded properly and presented. He taught us how to work with different materials and tools a lot. Yeah. So
How she was?
Geeraben was very kind and very. She talked to me. I remember very little. Yeah, but if you approached her, you wanted to talk to her, her doors were open all the time. There's no problem with that at all. And I tell you why, because there was a show that Alumni Association had done on the main campus. It was a garment show with music and with people wearing it and so on. And Subrata had actually helped me get a sponsorship from the Handloom House of Fabric. This is in the 90s. So I made a lot of garments from that fabric, and then I said, no, we have to invite Geeraben and Gautam Sarabhai, and I did that. And I was surprised they came to the show, and she was really appreciative of the kind of things that I had done, using handcraft as well as modern things, because I had made some hats as well at that time. So she and Gautam Bhai were really, really happy to see where we had come after such a long time, because 90s is way back they were there, and 90s is almost like, I don't know how many years after they left. 70s they left, I think, 70s. So it's 20 years, was a long time. And I invited them and I said, please come, and they came. I felt really good that nobody would invite them for any kind of shows or anything, and she was always interested in these things that we did. What was the alumni doing at that time? How did her vision actually grow? She could see what the textile people were doing immediately at that particular time. And that was exciting for her. That was exciting to Gautam Bhai also, you know. So that I remember work with. And one other time I remember Giraben is the time when we, all of us students, I think this was the first year probably, actually twice we had this encounter with her. One was when the first time when we entered, and then there was one of our professors who tried to teach us maths at the college level. And a lot of us were from art background, who had come from SSC and would not have been able to understand anything of that. And so I remember that we had formed a group, you know, where we had a female representative and a male representative from our class, and then we went to Giraben and we had to talk to them and negotiate with them. What was it? They told us there won't be exams, and now there are exams in maths, which is something we just can't understand firstly what she's teaching, you know. And so that's when Kumar Vyas also, because he was the dean at that time, so he intervened and said, no, we have to work with this and figure out how we can give the students assignment so that they have X number of days or hours in the day, and that they could do the assignment and submit it to you. So that was the last of the exam we saw. And and the next time, I mean, the other incident I remember of Giraben very strongly is when we were complaining about food, the canteen food. There was no proper contractor, and there was some person called Raghu, who was very nice, but he always had bun butter, and he had the cream roll with that pink thing on top of it, and we were really eating this really unhealthy food at that time, but we were hungry all the time also. And I believe that the food that he supplied was really not good. Because I used to get my own tiffin, but you know, later in the evening you felt hungry and all this. So we had called Giraben again, because she was the head at that particular time of the institute, and said, we'll have a consultative forum meeting. So we had a consultative forum meeting with a jajam on the floor in the old canteen and all. And we sat there, and she came with her hands folded again at the back, and so problem che, you know, looking at us, and so problem che. So we all said that, look, this is the problem. So she just said, have you come here to study or to eat? And she walked away, like we just didn't know what happened. And we all sat there thinking, and we're sort of blown away. Really? Is this true? That is it. And none of us had the guts to scream after her or, you know, and say anything. I think it was really profound what she said in a way. If you think, I think of it now, and I feel, oh my God, you know, what are your priorities is the question that she's asking, you know, at that particular time, and know them. So that was still some distinctly what I remember.
Something that you remember of, say, Ranjan, because the point is these people are not there right now. So I'm trying to collect those stories that compile together to make something on that.
See, Ranjan I thought of as my colleague and friend, actually, from whom I've learnt a lot. And that to say is organization in preparation of classes or class material especially. And the other thing that I've also believe in what he did is to be outspoken, you know, and not be afraid. I think this is very important, because if you believe in something, you've got to do it and you've got to say it. And that I really have great respect for it, for that particular reason. He guided me a great deal. He was fantastic with research, and he knew how to put things together really well, what kind of elements would go together and so on. And he guided me a great deal in my fiber and silk book, which of fiber and loom, the Indian tradition, that one. In the organization of material, in the process of documentation. He was the one who taught me how to do it. Literally. I'm not joking. Literally. Because he sat with me. Because I went to him and I said, Ranjan, I'm doing this. So then dialogue happened. Okay, why do you want this? Why are you doing this? Will you remember this? You have to remember this, and so on and so forth. And then he said, okay, think that you want to get back to this thing after 10 years, 15 years. How do you recall these things, And that is how it got worked out eventually. I personally think that design has not really made the dent that it needs to make. We do have the potential as a group of designers so far who've graduated in numbers as well. It needs to begin at policy level, which means we need to make a dent in the law or in the constitution itself. Somewhere we need to, a part of the parliament somewhere, I don't know. We need to be there to make the policies. One, because design is not just about making a product, it's also about improving the quality of life, as we all know, and that everybody is talking of, but not now. Everybody realizes that you must have trees and you must have this and that and the other. You must look after the water situation and sustainability. All these words now are buzzwords, we are talking of. But seriously, we need to look after our country as citizens of this country, and we need to have this country in order firstly, in designing policies, in designing and planning cities, in designing and planning everything that needs to happen for us to work efficiently and to protect our country, as much as possible. We need to do this quickly, and before it gets even worse in relation to, the way we use our materials, the way we make and think about design, the way design is viewed in the first place in India. All those things need to be looked at, and somehow we need to find a way to educate also the regular or the normal person to know what all design can do, and that they can be an equal partner with us. We need to have that partnership with people. We work as, hoity-toity people, and I think we have to somehow come and put our feet on the ground and say, look, we want to work for the people of our country, and what can we do? Very little you begin with, just by maybe creating a path which is even to walk properly in it. As simple as that, if we can start doing, that'd be wonderful. Then there are all these umpteen resources which we are very wasteful of. We need to be mindful of how to process those, whether we should use it this way, that way, or not to use it at all. But designers can make that difference if we are, I can't say allowed, we have to somehow become a part of it, I think, and I don't know how we can do that. But now that there are new bodies which have come up, perhaps it's an opportunity for us to take that leap of faith and start moving in that direction, to bring about a massive change, whether it's politics or policies or anything to do with our running of our country, I think we can influence it in a very positive way. I think I'm a deep believer in looking after our earth. And having said that, I've been studying biomimicry on my own and seeing how that can, and what others are writing and researching about it. And I feel that this is one important area, not just to mimic, but also to understand how what the nature can teach us and what we can learn from them. So, and the kind of systems that are developed itself in nature, and they have learned to survive. And we need to learn from it to be able to move forward in the future. Our solutions also need to be based on not necessarily what we see in nature, but to learn from it and adapt and invent that is earth friendly, And we must, as human beings, learn to respect each other, and I think that is a big problem right now.
Your point of focus for Nirma for next 5 years as an institution of design?
We have 2 design branches right now. One is industrial design and the other is communication design, wherein the education is a little, it's quite different from the design education is different from other schools. There's a great deal of focus on learning from case studies, learning from objects, or the history of objects and so on. And there is emphasis also on individual pedagogy, teaching through the same system as we developed earlier in NID. But although the number is large, the students are very, very bright, and they have the ability to learn different aspects of things on their own as well, apart from what is taught to them. We need to create that shift from just looking at material or being materialistic. I think we have to create a big shift from there. We have to start focusing on what we can do for our earth now. And I would then plan courses related to that, so that we would have specialists developed in those areas and can then spread the knowledge and the know-how to people, to newer students and so on. That would be my take on it. Design to me is everything about life. So when one is taught design from the very start, one started looking at life, or even how you brushed your teeth, the whole process, you started analyzing it and sort of. So it kind of got ingrained in you, and you, it must help people. This is something I have learned, that it must help people, and our country needs more and more help towards the people who need to stand on their own feet, who are not highly educated or not literate. They may be educated, but they're not literate. And so I think it is, to me, it is for all people and not just the elite. And where I have seen currently the design going is that it's all going for the elite, high value, high price. But I feel grounded because I've always worked with weavers. I've worked with the Jawaja people, and that is my passion. That is where I belong. I love weaving myself, So when I did my master's in fine arts, I decided I had to weave. So I wove, because that is what really gives me the peace of mind, and also the whole link with the material, the natural material, and how to use it, and how much to use, and what for to be used. All of that gets sort of resolved for me in that particular area. So design is life for me, Design is to live life much more, not more, I would say judiciously, I don't know what else to say right now.